One of the delights in being at Inman Connect in New York is just the people we meet, the opportunities we have to talk to some of the best real estate brokers and business leaders in the world. Joining me now is Tami Bonnell. Tami is the CEO for Exit Real Estate. Exit? E-X-I-T, Real Estate. And Tami also has been responsible and been behind building 3 major brands in the States. Tami, great to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
As I said, what I did omit to say was that you're also ranked in the top 10 business leaders in the Swanepoel ranking, but only 2 women in the top 10. You're one of them, so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We're catching up with Sherry Chris a little bit later in the show too to talk to her, and she's also in the top 10.
Absolutely.
It's a great achievement, but can I ask you about the brokers and the agents in your group? What have you identified that they do to help the really top ones stand out? What do they do?
Well, number one, they have accurate market knowledge, so they really understand their marketplace. The consumer is looking for the solution. So are agents. They're looking for what is the solution to what it is that what I'm working towards. And so when they can understand both the marketplace and what's going on in their own individual market, where the opportunities are, and they can also understand people, that's when I find they excel. It has to match both. They have to really put themselves in the other person's shoes and understand what that person is feeling, where they're going. You know, there are people move because of their circumstances. And that's the same with agents. When brokers bring agents in, they move because of their circumstances. They're not making enough money, they don't have enough leadership. So being a really good corporate citizen, paying attention to your community, understanding your market, but really understanding your consumer and your people, I think those are on the top of the list.
It takes a long time to develop that type of feel or that type of empathy for the market and the people in the market, doesn't it? So a broker moving into an area, fresh up, how do they get started?
Well, I find there are several ways of approaching it, but I find that if you can get the 30,000 foot view, understanding the trends that are happening all across the country, and then have the 2,000 foot view, so your own individual state or province, depending on where you're living, and then really understand the street level view. And you know, technology has made it so that we get a tremendous amount of data, and that really helps, but I always recommend that they connect with people that work on their business, not in it. Appraisers, home inspectors, mortgage companies, people responsible for the planning board, so they can really see windows of opportunity before anybody else. It's pretty quick to gain respect if you really know what you're doing, because the agent that's sitting in front of you is saying, how can you help me? How can you help me do better? How can you help me be more professional? How can you help me make more? And the consumer is sitting there and with the same concerns, right? They want a trusted advisor, and when you can give them a solution, even a long-term solution, you know, asking them effective questions about where you see them going over the next 1, 3, 5 years. What is their magic wish list? And you can really help them to get there. It really does make a difference. We've witnessed people going into a brand new market and being in the top 3 in market share in a year, but they have to pay attention to that. In my opinion, there are only 3 ways you can fail. Number 1, you don't have enough data. You don't have enough knowledge. You don't have enough information. Number 2, negative habit patterns. They're either intimidated, right, so that they don't have enough conversations with people, or they're so driven they don't do their homework before they jump out and get in front of people. And so it's really important to do your homework first. And the third one is distraction. You know, we all have technology in front of us, and they get so distracted. It's so easy to get distracted with their smartphone, their tablet, when really they need to be in front of people and they need to be present. That is probably the most difficult thing now. They get up in the morning, and if they go to social media right away and then all of a sudden check all their emails, a chunk of the day is gone. You have to get to the major priorities first before you touch anything else to do with the distractions.
That is such a powerful point, because I think it's so easy to get distracted and believe that, you know, we can effectively work off a tablet, you know, to make contacts and to, you know, reach out through texts and emails. It's really, you can't beat the face-to-face, getting belly to belly to have that conversation.
People want to matter.
Yeah, they do. Can I ask you another question? This is a gross generalisation, but let me go with it and then see how you react. But,
okay.
My experience is that women are so much better at communicating and building relationships than men. And I can say that as a male. So therefore, if that's the case, does that make a woman a better broker than a male?
Well, you know, it's funny, they actually just did a study, and there's a great book, it's called Humans Are Underrated. And they did a study and determined that women were better. I couldn't make that judgment call myself, but better than 60% of the people that are making money in the United States in real estate are female. And so that's better than 60%.
Better than 60%.
So that gives you a picture, but what I find so fascinating is the number one skill set people are looking for, and it's in all fields, to make $100,000 a year or better, is empathy. And obviously, I think women have that more naturally.
Yeah, and what is it about women? I mean, I know with my wife, I can come home from having a conversation with someone and she'll ask me a question that didn't even occur to me to ask, about, is it just that women are more in touch with, the emotional side or the family side? Is it that men just want the bottom line? I don't understand.
Well, I think that's a good generalization, right? But then we have things that happen on one extreme or the other. Yeah. You see people that, you still see women that don't ask those effective questions, and the same thing turning around with men. But I think people can be educated into it as well, and it really is about paying attention and being present with that person. And
it's a nurturing thing too, I think, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
Women are so much better at nurturing than men, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a nurturing relationship and building that relationship.
It's a relationship, right?
Yeah.
This is a relationship business. So finding out what's really important to that other person really does matter. But for people that aren't as empathy oriented, there's so many easy ways for them to do their homework. They can follow people on Facebook, they can connect with them on LinkedIn, so they can see a little bit more of their life so that they know the right questions to ask when they get in front of them.
The American market, of course, so divided between buyers agents and sellers agents, with 3% commission generally on either side. It's a big commission fee. How open is that to new models coming in? There's going to be an attack on those fees to actually lower them, do you feel?
Well, I really don't believe that that's a concern for people that know their business.
Yes.
And really that's the problem. The threshold of getting into this industry in the United States, it's way too easy to get in. And when you can get into an industry really easy, you think it's going to be easy to do business and that personality is going to be enough. And I find with all this talk about disruptors, the best way to focus on building your business is to really make sure that you have enough education to be the solution for that person. I'll give you a great example. I coach a lot of the people within our organization, and I had a gentleman that said, just tell me just one thing. And I said, you need to be part of the solution. Ask effective questions, right? Where do you see yourself in the next 1, 3, 5 years? When do you plan on retiring? What is your big picture dream? And it went from him doing a little bit of business to, he did 7 transactions with one man by finding out he wanted to retire in 10 years. He wanted to buy a house now so it would be paid off by then. So he gave him advice to find, he gave him a referral to the area that he went to. He paid it off in 2 years' time because he put in an Airbnb. He paid it off in 2 years' time. He paid off his primary mortgage, and he bought 5 investment properties. So he ended up with 7 transactions just by asking the right effective questions.
Great agents don't make assumptions. Great agents ask the questions.
That's right.
And I think that's the big difference. And when we as agents and brokers can understand that, we start to then empathise more by not making our own assumptions about what people want to do or where they want to go.
Right. And even asking the right effective questions about communication. How would you prefer to be communicated with? How often? What's important information for you to have? Because we're all different personality profiles, so what might be important to me might not be the same thing that's important to you, and there are way too many assumptions being made. So, getting in the habit of asking really good effective questions and making sure that you take notes and you really keep track of what's important to that person, the more they're a priority for you, the more business and the more referrals you're going to do from it. And this business still, the highest place that people end up doing business is personal referrals.
Tami, just in closing, could I ask you, what did you hope to achieve or learn from coming to Inman Connect? And if so, have you achieved it?
Well, I actually always like to see what's new, what's up and coming. We have an entire tech team that's here that pays attention to all the new things that are being launched. I think it's very important to be present and up to date with everything that's going on, and you can't do that sitting behind your desk. You absolutely have to be present. So getting the information of all the new things that people are doing, making sure that you don't miss out on a window of opportunity, I think that's definitely a priority, and I believe that I absolutely got that, but it's also being able to connect with our own people and making sure that you're visible in places that are really important for them as well.
It's what we said earlier, isn't it, about it's not so much what you learn, it's what you do with the learning. So I guess the challenge now is with you and your team to go away, disseminate what you've picked up, and then learn how you're going to implement that into your organization.
And I think it's implementing a few things, not a lot of things.
Yes.
Because then you'll stick with it and follow through.
Yeah. Tami, great talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's been wonderful to
It's been a
have
pleasure.
you here. Yeah, thank you.